So good evening to all of you. Tomorrow will be the last class. Someone is asking, is it a last class today? Right? Yes. Tomorrow you will be getting complete independence. But will you become republic? No. That you will when you get into services. So you'll have to wait for one more day for this ruthless exploitation to end. Yes? Very good. Okay. So coming back here, and if you remember, we were discussing about Max Weber's bureaucratic theory of ordination. So we are meeting once in a while. So I should first introduce myself, then see you people also, because once in a while you see us, so you don't remember the faces also. Of course, you don't want to remember the faces also. That's a different thing. Right? So we were talking about the Max Weber's bureaucratic theory of ordination, and what we have mentioned is that this person Max Weber, a German sociologist, had come out with his bureaucratic theory of ordination as a response to the conditions prevailing in Germany in early part of 20th century, in 1900s, 1900 to 1920s. Germany was experiencing a lot of political instability, and the administrative system was also a spoils system, because of which there was a lot of corruption, there was no rule of law, nepotism and favoritism, overall inefficiency of administration. And thanks to Industrial Revolution, Germany already had achieved a very stable economic growth, and thanks to capitalism, it had become industrialized country also. So the most important objective at that point of time was to continue with the economic growth it already has achieved. There was no need for any kind of radical changes, because those revolutionary changes had taken place already with the help of Industrial Revolution. So that is when Max Weber had come out with the solutions to the problems faced by Germany in the form of his bureaucratic theory of ordination. And he said that in any society we find there are three different types of legitimate authority. Legitimate means which is being accepted by people. And he said that there are a traditional authority, charismatic and legal authority. Traditional authority and charismatic authority, they are irrational. That is the reason why they are also temporary in nature. On the other hand, legal authority is also rational, and that is the reason why it is permanent also. So that is what Max Weber has said. And then he kept on analyzing, and he said that this legal authority is exercised by bureaucracy. Then he went on explaining the features of bureaucracy. He said that bureaucracy, he never defined the word bureaucracy term. And what is the literal meaning of the word bureaucracy? Cracy means rule, bureau means desk or table. Those who are on the other side of the desk or table will be ruling the country according to rules and regulations. And what are the important features of bureaucracy that we were discussing? We have mentioned some of them. First thing we have mentioned is that recruitment is on the basis of merit through open competitive examination. Whereas in case of a spoils system, it is only on the basis of their proximity to the leader. This kind of spoil system we can find in our politics. That is the reason why politics are inefficient, because you don't require any kind of qualifications or merit or efficiency or experience or expertise to become a politician, to become a chief minister, to become a prime minister. No qualifications are required. And a chief minister and prime minister, they would appoint the council of ministers again on the basis of only one condition, that is loyalty to the leader. That is the reason why it is inefficient. And what Max Weber has said is that if you want your bureaucracy to be efficient, the recruitment should be only on the basis of merit through open competitive examination. Then what are the other features of bureaucracy that we have seen? Next important feature of bureaucracy we have seen is that there is a clear-cut separation from individual income to organizational interests, organizational assets. As a bureaucrat, the government will be giving you money, the government will be giving you salary in terms of cash, and that is only your remuneration. You cannot be holding the assets of our nation. You cannot be using the assets of our nation for your personal benefits. Why? Because this is necessary to prevent corruption. In spoil system, those who are part of administration, they would use their personal position and power to indulge in corruption. If you go back, we discussed about corruption also. What is the definition we have given to corruption? Yes, corruption is the use of public offices for personal gains. And that is the reason why Max Weber has said that we have to prevent those things. There is clear-cut separation between individual income and organizational assets. This is what he said. Next feature of bureaucracy we have seen is what we have said is that positions in Weberian bureaucracy are not hereditary in nature. That means a senior bureaucrat cannot appoint his family members to those positions. In politics, these positions are hereditary, but not in administration. Then how senior positions are filled in? They are filled in through promotions on the basis of merit. That is the reason why bureaucracy would become an efficient organization. And the most important feature of bureaucracy we have mentioned is rationality. Rationality. And this same thing was also asked in our ethics paper. Weberian bureaucracy and the concept of rationality. It was asked in our ethics paper also. So what did we say? These bureaucrats are responsible for implementing a rule of law. They have to implement the rule of law. And to implement this rule of law, we said that what is required is value neutrality. What is required is political neutrality. These two are very, very important. Why do we require value neutrality and political neutrality? Did we talk about these things? Yes. So, what did Max Weber say? Max Weber has said that the bureaucrats are only instruments. They are only instruments in the hands of the political executive. As instruments, they should not have any values. What do we mean by instruments not having any values? When do we have values? You have values only when you have the thinking power. That is what we said. The difference between animals and human beings is conscience. We have the conscience. We have the ability to think. And this ability to think will help us to determine what is good and what is not. And the moment, as we study in our ethics paper also, the moment we silence our conscience, the voice of our conscience, there is no difference between human beings and animals. As you can see here, the other day, you must have seen also in Rajasthan, a person was killed by running a tractor over that person, his brother, over a land dispute. You must have seen those things. That is what we say animals. You must have heard about these things. Right? That is what we say animals. Right? That is what we say we need values. These values will help us to determine what is good and what is bad. And if you have right kind of values, it will always determine your actions also. You will always be doing something good for others, values. And you will always be looking at the outcome of your actions and then select your choices on the basis of the outcome of your actions. Whereas Max Weber has said that these bureaucrats, they are not human beings, they are only instruments. And as instruments, he said that they should not have any values as instruments. They should not have any values. And he said that this is necessary. Why? Because they are only expected to implement rule of law. And that's what we said. An old woman coming to your house in the middle of the night, she is not carrying any documents. And you have to be a value neutral, rational bureaucrat. And you have to tell her, you please have come up with the documents, then only I can help you. Otherwise, God bless you. Take care of yourself. That is what value neutral bureaucrat. Almost every case study in your ethics paper is about this concept of value neutrality. This concept of value neutrality. Max Weber has said that they should have, they should not have any values. Why? Because Weberian bureaucracy, what is the objective? To implement rule of law. Why? To ensure stability and continuity. Stability and continuity. To ensure stability and continuity. That is the reason why they are expected to only completely value neutral. But should the bureaucrats be value neutral? Should they have values or not? Yes? Yes or no? Yes. What is the problem? The problem here is that these values are individualistic in nature and they are qualitative. What is good for you need not be good for me. If every bureaucrat works according to his own individual value system, can you run the organization? Can you run the organization? Yes? Yes. You might be running your organization but not bureaucracy. Right? That is where the problem. For example, you are a police officer and you have caught a criminal. And the criminal has said that I am Robin Hood. I will take money from the rich people and give it to the poor people. You have tears in your eyes. You will say that I can see Mahatma Gandhi in you. You please go away and continue with your cultural activities. That is what having values. Can you? No. That is what Max Weber has said. He said that this individual values should be replaced with organizational rationality. Individual values should be replaced with organizational rationality. Whether you like it or not, your job is only to implement rules and regulations. Nothing else. Your job is to implement rules and regulations. Who will take responsibility for your actions? Who will take responsibility for your actions? Political executive. The government. They will take responsibility for your actions. For example, if the policies are good, if implementation is good, then what happens? The political party will come back to power. If they are not, the political party will lose power. As a bureaucrat, you are part of a permanent civil service. You will be there till you retire from your service. So you don't have to worry about any loss of power. Your job is only to implement rules and regulations. Strictly on the basis of value neutrality. That is what Max Weber has said. He said that since you are only instrument, you are only instrument, and as instrument according to Max Weber, you should not have any values. In case of any conflict between your individual values and organizational rationality, what should you do? Organizational rationality should be given importance. That is what he said. And then political neutrality. Why should you be politically neutral? Let us assume that you are getting into services at the age of 25 years. And you will be there in service till 60 years. That means you will be there for next 35 years. Assumption only. Right? Some of you are already daydreams are over, now evening dreams. Right? You will be there for the next 35 years. In those 35 years, how many governments will you, see? At least 7 governments. And with different political parties and different political ideologies. So, you can serve the government only when you are completely politically neutral. If you are politically neutral, then only you can provide unbiased, rational, meritorious, and impartial suggestions to the political executive. You should not be influenced by the ideology of the political party. Because today one political party has one particular ideology. Tomorrow another party will have another ideology. You cannot be influenced. You should only be committed to the ideals of the constitution, not to the ideology. That is the reason why this political neutrality is very important. And that is the reason why, as you study in our ethics paper, one of the important values you must possess is non-partisanship. You should not be in favor of any political party or ideology. If this is not there, what happens? It can result in politicization of civil services. You must have seen in the last 1 week or so, there is so much of controversy. When the government of India has decided that they would use these IAS officers from the rank of director in the Central Secretariat or nations as instruments to advertise the programs of the government, all the flagships of the government, all the flagship programs of the government. And the Congress party has said that this is nothing but politicization of civil services. This goes against a politically neutral bureaucracy. The government has said that the bureaucrats are responsible for implementation of these programs, so they should also, ensure that maximum number of people become part of these programs. More beneficiaries, will be part of these programs. So there is absolutely nothing wrong in bureaucrats, spending their time in, creating awareness among the people about these programs. So who is right and who is wrong? Please remember, next year the same case study will be given to you in ethics paper. All ethics case studies are only about what is happening, in you. That is the reason why I keep on saying reading newspapers is very important. Ethics case studies are only about these things, right? So the government says that there is nothing wrong, and opposition parties say that it is completely wrong. So where does the truth lie? As we studied, why public administration is important. We have discussed about the functions to be performed by public administration. One of the important functions to be performed by public administration, the civil servants, is that they must ensure active participation of beneficiaries, stakeholders. That's what we keep on saying all the time. All these developmental welfare schemes can be successful only when there is a participation of stakeholders. When can these stakeholders participate? Only when there is awareness. And this bureaucracy, civil servants are expected to create awareness. So there is nothing wrong in creating awareness. But what is wrong here? It is not about creating awareness among the beneficiaries about the programs. It is about spending time to create awareness about the successes of these programs. That basically what you are doing here. You are giving advertisement to the government. That is where it can be problematic. That is where, it can be problematic. You can create awareness. That is the part of the duty of a civil servant. You must create awareness among the people about the welfare and developmental schemes so that more number of stakeholders, beneficiaries can benefit out of them. That is what as a civil servant you have to do. Here in this case, that is not what they are asked to do. They are asked to, advertise among the people about the successes of all these flagship schemes of the government. That means you are asked to basically, aggressively campaign for the ruling political party. And that too before elections. That can be problematic. And that is what you must have seen as editorials in Hindu and Indian Express and all the newspapers. I am sure you must be reading newspapers, right? That is where the problem is. This is where politicization of civil services, and that is the reason why Max Weber spoke about political neutrality, right? And as we said, this politicization of civil services in India, it has started in 1970s, when the then Prime Minister during emergency had given a call for committed bureaucracy. She said that bureaucracy must be committed to the ideology of the ruling political party in power and not to the ideals of the constitution. That is where politicization of civil services in India had started. By 1990s, when regional political parties had come to power at the state level, this politicization has become complete. And from then onwards, any political party that comes to power are using these bureaucrats to realize their selfish political ends. In between, you must have seen, Election Commission was forced to enter into the whole debate. Election Commission has said that there is model code of conduct that is in operation in all these 5 states. So bureaucrats cannot be used to advertise the successes of the flagship schemes of the government, because model code of conduct is there. Why? Because you need a politically neutral bureaucracy to conduct elections. That is what Election Commission has said. That is the reason why this political neutrality becomes very, very important. Value neutrality and political neutrality. Did you write about them? Let us take about these things. Value neutrality and political neutrality. Write down Max Weber. Max Weber defined rationality in terms of political neutrality and value neutrality. Political neutrality and value neutrality. Next paragraph. According to Weber, in a democracy, political executive is responsible for policy formulation and bureaucracy for its implementation. As a part of a balanced polity. As a part of a balanced polity. You can underline balanced polity. Right? Balanced polity. Political executive, next paragraph. Political executive will take into consideration values, while formulating policies, whereas bureaucracy is expected to implement those policies strictly according to rules and regulations. Strictly according to rules and regulations. They are expected to provide strictly according to rules and regulations. They are expected to provide unbiased meritorious, rational, and impartial suggestions to political executive. Suggestions to political executive in policy formulation. They can do so only when they are both politically and value neutral. Next paragraph. Balanced polity demands. Please remember, whatever you are writing has been asked for 25 marks in your ethics case study. Same thing. Of course, including spelling mistakes also. All right. Balanced polity demands that political executive should not interfere in the functioning of bureaucracy while implementing policies and bureaucracy should not dominate political executive in their functioning. Using their skills and knowledge. So what we are saying here is that when we talk about this balanced polity, two important institutions in democracy, political executive and bureaucracy. Two important institutions in our democracy, political executive and bureaucracy. This political executive, they are elected by people and they are responsible for policy formulation, and they should take into consideration values while formulating policies. Whenever the government always makes any policies, they should always take into consideration values. What kind of values that they should take into consideration? What are the values? Inclusiveness, equity. Then, what are the values? What are the values they should take into consideration while they are formulating policies? Policy should always benefit the weaker sections of society. Any policy should always benefit the poorest and the weaker sections of society. Why? Because rich people can always take care of themselves, and it is the poor people who should benefit out of policies. So whenever you are making any policy, you must make sure that it will not adversely impact the interests of weaker sections of society. It should not adversely impact. On the other hand, it should always benefit the weaker sections of society. That is what the best example is progressive taxation. Through progressive taxation, what you are doing? You are taking money from rich people and distributing this money to poor people in the form of Ambani and Adani, right? Right? Poor people, because they are poor rich people, right? So, in the form of poor people, in the form of subsidies that the government is giving. So, you have to make sure that there is sustainable development. You must protect the environment. You have to make sure that women and children benefit out of your policies. You have to make sure that it would result in socio-economic transformation. These are all the things that we have seen. You have to make sure that the policies would provide immediate benefits to the poor people from the vagaries of market, the uncertainties imposed by the market. You have to make sure that poor people are not adversely affected by high levels of inflation. You have to make sure that they are given the basic needs of life, like education, health, drinking water, housing. This is what we say values. So political executive must take into consideration these values. Whereas the bureaucracy, what do we say? They are selected, they are not elected, right? And they are responsible for policy implementation. And how do they implement the policies? According to rules and regulations. That is what we say. And what we have mentioned is that these ministers, they don't have any understanding of the functioning of the government, because their profession is politics. It is not administration. For example, you can ask the ministers, how many of them have read this data protection and data privacy bill? They don't. I'm talking about the ministers. I'm not talking about jobless, right? Don't force me to speak truth, right? In our last class also, right? So that is what. They don't have any technical knowledge. That is the reason why these bureaucrats, who are what we call them as a professional bureaucrat, executive bureaucrats, they must provide unbiased, rational, meritorious and impartial suggestions. That is the reason why these are all the values you study in your ethics paper also. Impartiality, unbiasedness, rationality and non-partisanship. These are all the values you must possess. Why? Because you have to give your suggestions only on the basis of rationality. You don't have to worry about anything else. Let the politician take into consideration values. And once the politician makes policies, you have to implement policies according to rules and regulations. Politicians should not dominate bureaucracy. Bureaucracy should not influence politicians. That is what is called balanced polity. And where do you find this kind of balanced polity? You find this kind of balanced polity mostly in Western countries, wherein the bureaucracy can perform independently without fear or favor. I gave you the example, the difference between India and UK in terms of our parliamentary democracies. In UK, we have this kind of a typical Weberian bureaucracy, wherein the bureaucrats function in an independent, impartial and politically neutral manner. I gave the example, for the UK Cabinet Secretary investigating against the Prime Minister, submitting a report indicting the Prime Minister of Corona violations, which ultimately led to the resignation of the Prime Minister. Can you ever imagine these kind of things happening in India? Our Cabinet Secretary investigating against Prime Minister, which results in the resignation. That is what we say balanced polity. On the other hand, what you have is only politicization of civil services, wherein the ministers, prime ministers, chief ministers use various instruments to influence the functioning of bureaucracy. What are those instruments? Transfers, promotions, postings, and then suspensions, and nowadays post-retirement positions. Post-retirement positions. If you are a committed bureaucrat, committed to the ruling political party, you will be given extensions. Present Cabinet Secretary has been given two extensions. Home Secretary has been given 2 extensions. So what the government is telling you that if you are a politically neutral bureaucrat, you will not have any kind of scope of career advancement. On the other hand, if you are committed, then only you have a further scope for career advancement. And this is what we call politicization of civil services. As I said, this exactly was asked for 25 marks in your ethics paper case studies. Right? What are the solutions? You will study in ethics paper, because it is unethical to discuss ethics in governance. Already I have done so many unethical things. Right? Don't worry, we will talk about the solutions also as part of civil services reforms. That is the reason why he spoke about political neutrality and value neutrality. Write down. Political neutrality is needed. Political neutrality is needed. Political neutrality is needed. As bureaucrats are expected to provide suggestions to political executive purely on the basis of merit. Value neutrality is essential. Value neutrality is essential as it is required to implement the rule of law in both letter and spirit. As it is required to implement the rule of law in both letter and spirit. Next paragraph. Absence of political neutrality. Can result in politicization of civil services. Whereas absence of value neutrality can lead to nepotism, favoritism, prejudices, prejudices and biases in the functioning of civil servants. It can ultimately result in corruption, misuse of power, and abuse of authority. Right? So this is what we say. Why do we need political neutrality and value neutrality? And what is balanced polity? Political executive and bureaucracy performing their functions within their domains. Neither political executive interfering in the functioning of bureaucracy, nor bureaucracy dominating the functioning of political executive using their skills and knowledge. But ideally, this balanced polity is only an idealistic situation. It is not a reality. In reality, what we have is only politicization of civil services. That is the reason why, as I said, this is regularly asked in your ethics case study for 25 marks, regularly every year. What is the solution? As I said, we will discuss later, right? Hopefully, because it is unethical, right? So let us look at other important features of Weberian bureaucracy. What are the other features? This is the most important one. Rest of them are very easy. What are the other important features? Next one is hierarchy. Then written communication. Then rules and regulations. Then secrecy. Then sphere of competence. Then impartiality. So these are all the features. Let us look at them one by one. Again, all of them are part of your ethics paper only. Hierarchy. What is this hierarchy? Then you can include discipline. Discipline. Each and every one has been asked as a question in your ethics paper, all these features. So what is this hierarchy? What is hierarchy? Hierarchy, it defines the relationship between the superior and the subordinate within the organization. It defines the relationship between the superior and subordinate. What kind of relationship is there? Superior has the authority to give orders and subordinate has the responsibility to implement orders. It basically defines the physical structure of organization. For example, if you look at the government of India, what is the hierarchy? The government of India, what is the hierarchy? At the top, you have the president. According to our constitution, the president is supreme. And after president, vice president. It is vice president. Then comes prime minister. Then comes prime minister. For example, look at this kind of hierarchy strictly followed. Republic Day celebrations, 26 January. Who will come first? Prime minister. And the prime minister will receive vice president. And prime minister and vice president combined together will receive president. All of them will receive the person in front of you. Right? So this is the real hierarchy, right? That's why I don't want to embarrass all of them. That's the reason why I don't go, right? So that is what we say hierarchy. We have the head of the state. President is the custodian of our constitution. Entire administration of the country is carried out in the name of the president. In the absence of president, it is the vice president who performs all those functions. Whereas the prime minister is the head of the government. Head of the government. And below prime minister, cabinet ministers. Cabinet ministers. Below cabinet ministers in the government, below cabinet ministers, we have discussed all these things, of course, long time back. Below cabinet ministers, MOS independent charge, Minister of State independent charge. Please remember, all these questions are asked in your prelims only. you don't want to lose marks. As I keep on saying, polity is one area where even if you are losing one single question, you should feel bad. Because, you can easily identify the questions. UPSC will ask the questions only from particular areas only. I think in our last class also I had told you, what are the chapters where they are asking questions in polity in prelims. No? I think I have. Long time back. No problem. What I will do is that every day I will come into your dreams and teach you all those things. Right? Very good. So now, when are you sleeping? Right. Okay. So, coming back here, that is what we say. Then, after the MOS, independent charge, then MOS. MOS. That is what. And in the bureaucracy, while the Prime Minister is the head of the political executive, Cabinet Secretary is the head of administration, permanent executive. And below Cabinet Secretary, you have Secretary. Below Secretary, you have Additional Secretary, Special Secretary, Officer on Special Duty. Below that, Joint Secretary. That is what is called hierarchy. Below that, Director. Now, the Government of India has asked officers of the rank of Deputy Secretary, Under Secretary, Director, Joint Secretary, and even secretaries to go to various states and advertise the programs of the government. They are part of the staff organization, secretariat, which is situated in the headquarters. Now they are asked to go to the field and explain to the people the benefits, the successes of the flagship schemes of the government. So this is what hierarchy. Can there be any organization without any hierarchy? Whenever you have two people, there will always be hierarchy. In the family also, patriarchal societies, the male member of the family will be the head of the family. And in societies like in Kerala, wherein female member of the family is the head of the family. Right? Everywhere, this hierarchy will be there. And as long as this hierarchy is rigid and as long as it is effective, the organization will be effective. Take the case of United Nations. Why United Nations has been a failure? You must have studied these things in IR. Have you done IR? Very good. For a change, you are saying yes. For one thing. So why United Nations has been a failure? In United Nations, everyone is equal. There is no hierarchy. The head of the United Nations, does he have any real powers? Right now, previously we had a Russia-Ukraine war. And they have requested Russia, please stop the war. Then they pleaded with Russia. Then they begged with Russia. The same thing has happening with Israel-Hamas war also. They don't have any real powers. That is the reason why United Nations is useless nations. Right? They don't have any real power. On the other hand, look at the Government of India, this hierarchy. If the Cabinet Secretary gives orders to any of these bureaucrats, if they don't implement them, they can be punished for violation of the conduct rules and regulations. That is why Max Weber gave a lot of importance to this hierarchy. Next one is written communication. This written communication has been asked so many times in your ethics paper case studies. For almost all the case study, the answer has to be written communication. For example, a minister had come to you and said that you sign on this file. You will sign the file. And it is about the corruption of the minister. Tomorrow the matter will go to the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court will ask you, because whose signature will be there? Your signature. Your signature. Assuming that you are a bureaucrat there, right? Your signature will be there. Right? And then they will ask you, why did you sign this file? He will say that the minister has asked me to sign this file. And Supreme Court will call the minister. Did you ask this person to sign the file? Minister will say that who is this person? I am seeing this person for the first time. Is he part of my electorate in my constituency? Does he need a house under PMAY? If you have any kind of problem, please come to me directly. Why do you have to go to the Supreme Court? And the Supreme Court says that this person is a secretary, and he said that you have asked him to sign. The minister will say that, show me the evidence. As we studied, our judiciary, it functions on the basis of evidence. It is not on the basis of justice. Our courts are not courts of justice, they are courts of evidence. And as a secretary, you say that I don't have any evidence. Then you will be sent to jail. Yes. Right. Those who have already experienced there, right, they can tell about the conditions also. So, that is what, that may God fulfill all your wishes. Right. Or if you want, I will send you to the largest open jail. Very good. You are studying international relations. There, permanent largest open prison in the world. So that you can take rest there. Not you, may your soul. Right. So coming back here, that is the reason why written communication is important. As I said, almost every year one case study in ethics paper about this only. You should always demand written communication from your superior, because it acts as evidence. Tomorrow if you do something wrong and your superior has asked you to do, you will say that immediately give me order, written order. Of course, you will get the written order. You have been suspended with immediate effect. Go home, again prepare for UPSC. Right? Nobody will give you written communication. Within the government of India, no one will give you written communication. You have to demand. In your ethics case studies, that is what you have to write. This written communication is also necessary. Why? Because let us assume that you are the district collector today. Will you be there in that position forever? You will be there for maximum 2 years or 3 years. After that, someone will replace you as collector. Right? And how does he know what you have done in those 3 years? How does he know what you have done in those 3 years? On the basis of written communication, the documentation. What are the programs that you have implemented? Who are the beneficiaries of those programs? And that is needed to ensure continuity to administrative process. This is another reason why Max Weber spoke about written communication. Next one is rules and regulations. Again, this was asked in our ethics paper. Why do we need these rules and regulations? These rules and regulations are needed to prevent negative behavior. To prevent negative behavior. For example, in the organization, the rules say that you must enter into the office morning 9:30, and you should not leave the office till 6 o'clock. Otherwise, what happens? It will become our classroom. Anybody can come at any point of time and leave also. Complete exercise of fundamental rights. Right to life and personal liberty. That is the reason why you need rules and regulations. To prevent negative behavior. They say that you should not indulge in corruption. They say that you should not take any bribes. They say that you should not indulge in nepotism or favoritism. They say that you cannot violate the code of conduct. They are needed to prevent negative behavior. Why? Because when hundreds of people are working in organization, what happens? Every person, depending on his conscience, can take his own decisions. Then what happens? Everyone will be moving in different directions. Can the organization sustain? That is the reason why Max Weber gave importance to rules and regulations. He said that these rules and regulations are needed to prevent negative behavior, to ensure uniform behavior within the organizations, and also to ensure coordination within the organizations. Next one is secrecy. Weberian bureaucracy gives a lot of importance to secrecy. Bureaucrats should always work in isolation. They should not be impacted by what is happening in the society. For example, you are an IAS officer. When can you implement rules and regulations strictly? Only when you are not influenced by what is happening in the society. You have to implement, say, strictly anti-dowry legislation. And you yourself are taking dowry. Can you implement them? Obviously not. Can you? Yes? After you taking dowry, you will implement it. And start with yourself only. Anyway, at this point of time, NPS, you have to give dowry only. Right? So that is what it requires: high levels of secrecy. No political interference, no private sector interference, no media interference in your functioning. Then only you can strictly implement rules and regulations. High levels of secrecy. Next one is a sphere of competence. Max Weber gave importance to this sphere of competence. He said that bureaucracy must become specialist. When you perform the same activity over and again, you will automatically become a specialist. Why? Because this specialization is required. Then only you can maximize efficiency. That is the reason why he spoke about sphere of competence. Let the bureaucrats develop competence in administrative activities so that they can become specialists and they can maximize efficiency of organizations. And the next one is impartiality. That is what we have discussed. This impartiality, how can we ensure impartiality? When you are value neutral. That means you should not be partial or biased towards any section of society. Any person, you can implement a strictly rule of law only when you are completely impartial. And this is where the problem with our bureaucracy. Our bureaucrats are not impartial. Since independence, we have seen in the country so many communal events have taken place, wherein so many hundreds of innocent people died. And what is the reason why these events had taken place? Because our police, they are not impartial. They are mostly behaving like followers of a particular religion. They remain silent if atrocities are committed against other religion. They remain silent if atrocities are committed against other backward castes. That is the reason why we need impartiality. You have to strictly implement rule of law. The person who is committing the crime in front of you, whether it is he is this religion or that religion or any other religion, you must strictly implement rule of law. If the person is committing the crime, you should punish him. Otherwise, this highly partial, biased behavior of our bureaucracy is the most important reason why we don't have rule of law in our country. As we said, in India, we don't have constitutionalism. Constitutionalism means strict implementation of rule of law in both letter and spirit. If you are a traffic constable, you should stop the vehicle of the Prime Minister also if it is violating traffic rules and regulations. That is what is called impartiality. That is where you need that courage of conviction. Max Weber spoke about this impartiality. And that is the difference between the bureaucracy in Western countries and in India. That is why we don't have rule of law. And then finally, discipline. Again, this was asked in ethics paper for all of them were asked as questions. In fact, all of them were asked. Why do we need discipline in the organizations? Why do we need discipline? Without discipline, there cannot be any organization. I just said, superior has come and asked you to that today, by today evening you have to complete the task. If you don't complete, you will be punished under this conduct rules and regulations. It is not like our classroom where every day I keep on saying that you have to read these things. Next day you will come and say that why should we read? We are independent sovereign citizens of our country. We have also studied a little bit of polity. This is right against exploitation. That is what discipline. And how this discipline is ensured? Through code of conduct. Civil Service Conduct Rules and Regulations 1957, 1959, 1964. This discipline is ensured. No organization can be there without discipline. Right? Do you want me to dictate all these things? Pardon? Okay. Yes. That is the reason why these are all the criticisms against Weberian bureaucracy. We will talk about the criticisms later. Right now we are only looking at the features. The entire criticism against Weberian bureaucracy is nothing but your ethics paper. As I said, should the bureaucrats be value neutral? When an old woman comes to your house in the middle of the night and she is not carrying documents, should you be value neutral or should you be value committed? That is the reason why we criticize Weber. And this secrecy would only lead to corruption. This hierarchy would result in red tapeism. These rules and regulations again would lead to more red tapeism. That is what we say. So write down hierarchy. Hierarchy defines the physical. It defines the physical structure of the organization. Physical structure of the organization. It defines the relationship between the superior and subordinate. The relationship between the superior and subordinate. Superior has the authority to give orders. Superior has the authority to give orders, whereas subordinate has the responsibility to implement them. Has the responsibility to implement them. Responsibility to implement them. It also defines the authority and the responsibility at each and every level in the organization. At each and every level in the organization. So what do we mean by that? If you are at the top level in the organization, you have maximum authority. You also have maximum responsibility. For example, if tomorrow there is any problem with the economy, whom will you blame? Finance minister. Will you blame the class 4 employee working in the finance ministry? Why not? He does not have any authority and he will not have any responsibility also. Hierarchy defines authority and responsibility. Next, hierarchy is necessary. Hierarchy is necessary to ensure coordination, to resolve conflicts, to ensure discipline, and overall to improve efficiency of organization. To improve efficiency of organization. Right. Next, written communication. Written communication. According to Max Weber, written communication will ensure continuity, and stability to administrative process. Will ensure continuity and stability to administrative process. to administrative process. It is also necessary and stability to administrative process. It is also necessary to fix accountability on the part of people working within the organization. People working within the organization. It will help in reducing corruption, eliminating the scope for misuse and abuse of power. Misuse and abuse of power. Next one is rules and regulations. Rules and regulations. Weber gave lot of importance to rules and regulations. They are necessary to prevent anti-organizational behavior. Anti-organizational behavior. They are also important to ensure discipline within the organization. Ensure discipline within the organization. Next, secrecy. Max Weber believed that bureaucracy can perform its functions in an efficient manner only when it is isolated from external influences. Political system, economic system, social and cultural systems, should not influence the functioning of bureaucracy. They must work in a highly secretive environment. Next, sphere of competence. Sphere of competence. Administration is a highly technical activity. Administration is a highly technical activity, and bureaucrats can become efficient only when bureaucrats can become efficient only when they develop specialized skills in technical aspects of administration. Technical aspects of administration. Weber believed that by working for long periods, bureaucrats can develop sphere of competence. That is, they can acquire the necessary technical knowledge and competence so that they can become efficient also. And how will they develop these things? Through training. Right now, FC foundation course training is going on. Right? They will be teaching you all those things. We'll talk about those things as part of civil services reforms. Next one is this impartiality. As they are expected to implement rule of law, in both letter and spirit. Bureaucrats should be completely impartial. In terms of their outlook, behavior, and actions. That is, they should not be partial towards, they should not be partial or biased. They should not be partial or biased, B-I-A-S-E-D, towards, for or against, or against any section of society. For or against any section of society. In India, there is more of a constitutional formalism there is more of a constitutional formalism than constitutionalism, because of absence of impartial bureaucracy. Absence of impartial bureaucracy. Right. And the last one is a discipline. Last one is discipline. What is this discipline and why do we need discipline? Since bureaucracy is a very large organization, it can be prone, PRONE, to multiple value systems and behaviors. Value systems and behaviors. Coordination could be very difficult. Due to individual prejudices and biases. Individual prejudices and biases. BIASES. It is only discipline. That can ensure unity of purpose. 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 And direction. Means unity of direction within large organizations. Next, discipline can be ensured through strict code of conduct. And strict code of conduct and the necessary reward and punishment mechanisms. For example, civil services conduct rules and regulations. 1957, 1959 and 1964 ensure discipline within the functioning of our bureaucracy. Right. So this is what we say. Again, as we said, these are all the features given by Weber. Do we agree with all of them? We may not agree. The question they have asked in our ethics paper, if there is too much of discipline, what happens? If there is too much of discipline, what happens? There is no scope for individual freedom and creativity. In the name of discipline, you are asked only to implement the orders given by superiors. Organization can never become efficient because you have to give freedom to the people to take decisions. You have to give freedom to the people to come out with innovations. You have to give freedom to the people to come out with new initiatives. In the name of discipline, if you take away all these things, why Indian bureaucracy is inefficient? They are imprisoned in this discipline. If you violate any rule or regulation, immediately you are punished, in spite of the fact that you have violated them only for betterment of the society. And you are taking away their freedoms, and you are taking away their creativity or innovation or independence. Then the organizations would become static. Then the organization would fail. The most important reason why our bureaucracy is a failure, because they are so much imprisoned in this conduct rules and regulations. Discipline. You have to strictly follow the orders. Similarly, secrecy we have mentioned. And what is the problem with secrecy? It can lead to corruption. Similarly, hierarchy and written communication. It can lead to red tapeism. And similarly, value neutrality. Should value neutrality be there? Never. Because bureaucrats are not instruments. They are human beings. And what kind of values you must have? That is the essence of your entire ethics paper. You will be studying at least around 25 values minimum. What are they? Honesty, integrity, selflessness, love and affection towards weaker sections. I think in our last class I have asked you the difference between love and affection. Did you find out? Sorry, love and compassion. Yeah. Did you find out? Yes? Yes or no? I am asking a question. You don't have either love or compassion. Very good. So, similarly, what are the other values? Impartiality, non-partisanship, empathy, selflessness, transparency, accountability, economy, efficiency, effectiveness, equity, secularism, socialism, decentralization, participation, empowerment, and of course you should be committed to the ideals of your constitution. The preamble. What does the preamble talks about? Socialism, secularism, sovereignty, democracy and republic. These are all the values you must possess as a civil servant. And Max Weber has said that you should only be value neutral. You should not be value neutral. And the only thing is that you should possess good values. But again, the only problem is that how do we inculcate these good values in people? How do we inculcate good values? And the problem is that this something called goodness itself is a value. Because what is good for you need not be good for me. And the problem with the values is that they are individualistic and they are relative. They are not absolute and they are not universal also. That is where it becomes problematic. As I said, today you are helping that old woman because you feel the sufferings of that old woman, empathy. Tomorrow, what is the guarantee that you will not do the same thing to your own people? Nepotism. Day after tomorrow, what is the guarantee that you will not be doing it for your own self? Corruption. There is something called, as we study in ethics paper, slippery slope argument. Have you studied it? No, very good. Right? What is this slippery slope? Slippery slope means? Yes. Some people are trying to explain through graphic representation. Right. What is slippery slope? Have you ever, visited these places like Kulu, Manali, or Rohtang Pass, or Kashmir Valley? Have you stepped onto the ice on the top of a glacier. Have you? No, because NPA status, BPL category, right? So normally what happens when you step onto those glaciers which are highly slippery, right? When you step there, if you are here, will you be here only? Even before you realize, you will come down. The slope, yes. While coming down, you will go up also, right? So that is what we say, the slope is always slippery. Why are we talking about this argument in our ethics? Why? Because when you are violating these values today for the good of the people, what is the guarantee that tomorrow you will not be doing the same thing for yourself? That is the reason why you have to follow the norms, rules and regulation. That is the reason why Max Weber has said that whenever there is any conflict between individual value system and organizational rationality, importance should always be given to organizational rationality. And what is the solution to all these ethics case studies? Almost every ethics case study is only about the conflict between this morality versus legality. Always at the time, conflict between morality and, because what is moral need not be legal, and what is legal need not be moral. For example, you are a assistant to superintendent of police or assistant commissioner of police, and the government had asked you to take your police force in the middle of the night, go to the this slum area wherein poor people have illegally occupied government land. The government has said that go to the place and demolish all the slums in the middle of the night. Demolishing the slums is completely legal. Why? Because they are staying on government land. Is it moral? What do you do then? These are all ethics case studies. So should you not have values? Should you have values or should you not have values? Right? So that is why we talk about the criticism of Weber. We say that bureaucrats are not instruments. They are human beings. As human beings, they should always have values. Only thing is that they must have good values, right kind of values. But again, the problem is that who will define what is the right value and not wrong value? That is where the problem. In the examination hall, a person is sitting next to you, your friend, and he has helped you in your life so much, and he had asked you to show his your answer sheet to him so that he can also clear the examination. Will you show it or not? Yes, no only, because you are so selfish, you only believe in taking help from others, and his friends, be careful. Right? Will you show it or not? Similarly, another thing, you are a superintendent of police, you went into the forest as part of this combing operations to catch Naxalites. And one of those Naxal leaders is none other than your close friend who has prepared along with you for UPSC examination, and he is the one ultimately who has helped you to get into services also. Will you arrest that person or not? Yes? Arresting that person is legal. Right? And not arresting the person is moral. You know that he is a very good person, unlike you. Since he is a good person, he had become Naxalite. And since you are a bad person, you had become police. And by arresting that person, immediately the government will give him severe punishment also. Will you arrest that person or not? What will you write? Please remember, every ethics case study about this kind of what is called moral dilemmas. Why? Because Max Weber. The major culprit here is Max Weber. Why? Because he said that he should not have any values. Should you have values or not? That is what every case study. Anyway, that is what about your case studies. Anyway, we are not going to much into those things. Let us come back to our governance. So we have seen Max Weber's bureaucratic theory of ordination, and the last topic that we have to look at is civil services reforms. That is what I have said. When was the last time we have seen a bad person becoming good? Very good. Right. Right. Please remember, I am never and will never be a good person. I hate good people. Right? Because of those good people only, best people like me suffered. Why? In our childhood, I never studied, and parents will show all those stupid, idiotic people who studied 10 hours a day, and they will always scold you. That is the reason why from that time onwards, I hated goodness. Right? So you are getting it wrong. I am moving only from bad to worse, and worst. Right? So I am not the one. Anyone else? Yes, you are the one? Very good. Okay. That is what is called daydreaming. Not dreaming with open eyes, that we have become good. Right? Anyway, let us take a break. That's what I am saying. When was the last time a bad person had become good? After listening to all these things, you will say break. Right? Habits, that is what we say in English language. Habits die hard, whether it's good or bad habits. Please remember, don't make it as a habit in the UPSC examination hall also, when you are writing mains. After 1.5 hours, you will tell the examiner, break, I'm going out. Right? So you can take the break, and after that we will look at the civil services reforms. Last topic. I did not get you. That's what I said. You'll be studying all of them as part of your ethics paper. Otherwise, there is nothing much to study. You also need some kind of satisfaction that you have studied something in ethics. Right? So criticism of Weber is nothing but your entire ethics paper. Right? As I said, the criticism of Weber, secrecy would result in corruption. Hierarchy and written communications would lead to red tapeism, time and cost overruns. And then value neutrality is neither desirable nor feasible. And then this sphere of competence would make bureaucracy inefficient, because they would not be able to perform any other functions. These are all the criticisms of Weber. I am sure you will be studying as part of your ethics paper. Right? So let us move on to this next topic, civil services reforms. Almost every alternative year, UPSC is asking this in our governance. And of course, they are very important for our ethics paper also, civil services reforms. So first of all, why do we need reforms in civil services? And what are the important reforms that we have to implement? We have seen many governance reforms. What are the governance reforms we have seen? Reforms in the functioning of the secretariat organizations, in the functioning of ministries and departments. We have seen citizen charters, social audits, e-governance, right to information. Then we have seen reforms in the implementation of developmental and welfare schemes. We also have seen these civil society organizations, NGOs, self-help groups. These are all part of what we call citizen-centric governance. And who has to implement all those reforms? All those reforms have to be implemented by civil services. And what is the reason why all those reforms that we have studied have not succeeded? Because of the attitude of our bureaucracy. because of the status quoist nature of our bureaucracy, because of the unwillingness on the part of our bureaucracy to change itself to changing circumstances. We have spoken about the role of a public administration in the age of globalization. Again, our bureaucracy has not been able to live up to the expectations of the people, and that is where we need reforms in the functioning of our civil services. Look at all the global indices, multidimensional poverty index. What is India's ranking? Global transparency index. What is India's ranking? Global hunger index. What is India's ranking? Then global this competitive index. What is India's ranking? And then look at other indicators, the number of people living below poverty line in the country. All these clearly show that our bureaucracy has failed to live up to the expectations of our people. And the functioning of our bureaucracy is characterized by nepotism, favoritism, absence of rule of law, politicization of civil services, corruption, misuse and abuse of authority, high levels of secrecy, complete absence of accountability mechanisms, centralization of power and absolute monopoly. That is the reason why we need civil services reforms, because at the end of the day, all the reforms, we spoke about 73rd, 74th Amendment also. Why they are a failure? Because of the unwillingness on the part of the district collectors to empower these local bodies. We spoke about functions, functionaries and finances also. And this is where we need to implement reforms in our civil services. We need a bureaucracy which is proactive, which is creative, which is innovative, which is dynamic, which is enterprising, which is willing to take risks, which is willing to ensure transparency and accountability and participation. We need a bureaucracy which can become the catalyst for bringing about this socio-economic transformation. This is not possible with the Weberian bureaucracy that we have. It is not possible with the Weberian bureaucracy. Why? Because what is the objective of this Weberian bureaucracy? To ensure stability. Can they bring about change? Obviously not, because they don't have either the attitude or aptitude. Aptitude means skills and knowledge. Attitude means values. That is the reason why this entire ethics paper is there. They don't have either the attitude nor this aptitude to bring about changes. So that is the reason why we need reforms in the functioning of our bureaucracy, civil services, from starting point, that is recruitment, to end the point, that is removal. From recruitment to removal, we need reforms. Why? Because the entire efficiency of bureaucracy depends on the kind of human resources that we have, how we are recruiting the people, what kind of skills that we are testing, what is necessary for them to be successful as civil servants. Are we testing them? If not, what kind of reforms should be there in recruitment? Second, after recruitment, training is given to them. And is this training sufficient? Why this training has been a failure? And what kind of changes we have to make to training? That is the reason why our Prime Minister had come out with this mission Karma Yogi. Right? And then we need reforms in performance evaluation. What kind of performance evaluation is there? We need reforms in this generalist bureaucracy. It should be replaced with specialists through lateral entry. And then we need competition to bureaucracy, because once they get into services, for the next 35 years, there is no competition. We need reforms in their in the relationship between the politicians and civil servant, as we have discussed. Otherwise, what is happening is only politicization of civil services. What is the solution? Please remember, all of them have been asked, whatever I am telling you right now, have been asked as a separate case studies in ethics paper. Similarly, we need reforms in code of conduct, and we need code of ethics. Again, the questions are asked. We need reforms in disciplinary mechanisms. Why? Because we have excessive disciplinary mechanisms which makes our bureaucracy only status quoist in nature, because you are not allowing them to take up any initiative or to showcase their skills and talent. And most importantly, we need a reform in terms of their stability of tenure and removal. We have given security of tenure to our civil servants. As a second administrative reforms commission has pointed out, India is the only country in the world wherein civil servants are given so much of security of tenure which is not related to their performance. Whether you are efficient or not, you will be there in the services for the next 35 years. Since independence, please remember, not even a single civil servant has been removed from service because of inefficiency. They have been removed under the Civil Service Conduct Rules and Regulations 1959, 1957 and 1964 also for violating the conduct rules. They have been removed for corruption, for nepotism, for politicization, but not even a single servant has been removed because of inefficiency. They are efficient till they get into services. After that, they don't have to be efficient. They will not be efficient also. Why? Their performance will not impact their career advancement. Their promotions and transfers and their suspensions and postings are decided by their proximity to the political executive. If you are close to the Prime Minister or Chief Minister, you can see that you are getting all the plum postings, which results in politicization. You must have seen in Odisha what happened. This IAS officer, he took voluntary retirement and immediately joined the government. So before retirement, whatever his decisions, can we call their decisions are impartial, unbiased, meritorious? No. That is where the problem. So that is the reason why we need reforms in the functioning of our civil services. We need to make our bureaucracy modern, innovative, creative, dynamic, visionary, and inclusive and equitable. That is what is required. On the one hand, they require more skills and knowledge. On the other hand, they require better values also. How can we ensure all those things? That's what I said. All these reforms, have been asked as a case studies in our ethics paper, and of course in our governance. Every alternate year, the question is asked. As we will be discussing the questions that UPSC has asked, in governance in the last 10 years. Tomorrow, I will take up all those questions also. You can see that the civil services reforms are almost asked almost every alternative year. Very important. So let us see first the need for civil services reforms. Why do we need civil services reforms? Why should we need civil services reforms? Why do we need civil services reforms? According to Second Administrative Reforms Commission, according to second ERC, civil services in India have performed very well in terms of regulatory functions. In terms of regulatory functions, like conduct of elections, generation of revenue, and maintenance of law and order. But they have failed to live up to the expectations of the people, to live up to the expectations of people, while performing developmental functions. Developmental functions. They could not bring in the much needed socio-economic transformation, failed to empower weaker sections of society, could not realize the objectives of inclusive and equitable growth, and finally failed to ensure good governance. Civil services in India, next paragraph. Civil services in India suffer from the following weaknesses. First, excessive concentration of power. From the following weaknesses. First, excessive concentration of power. In the hands of people at the top. Second, continuation of colonial attitudes. Next, high levels of secrecy in their functioning. Next, politicization of civil services. Next, red tapeism, which often results in time and cost overruns. Next, complete absence of accountability and grievance redressal mechanisms. GRIEVANCE, redressal mechanisms. Next, absence of citizen participation in governance. due to bureaucracy-centric administration. Bureaucracy-centric administration. Bureaucracy-centric administration. For all these reasons, we say that we need reforms. So let us see what are all those reforms that we need to implement. As we say, reforms always should start from the basic aspects, recruitment. What kind of recruitment process we have right now to civil services? What kind of recruitment process? All of you are preparing for it. Merit-based recruitment, right? So what is the reform that is required then? What kind of reform that are needed? That is what we say, that the selection process is the best which caters to the needs of the organization. Pardon? Time duration, I will come to all the things. That the mode of selection is the best which caters to the needs of organization. So what is needed for you to become a very good civil servant? What should UPSC test you? What are the skills that UPSC must be testing you for you to become a good civil servant? What are the skills that they must test you? For example, Indian Engineering Service. I know what to ask in engineering service, right? Similarly, Indian Statistical Service, I know. Indian Administrative Service, what should I do? What are skills? It is called Indian Administrative Service. So you need knowledge of administration, right? Anything else? Indian Revenue Service, income tax. You need knowledge of income tax. Indian Revenue Service, customs. You need knowledge of GST. Indian Police Service. You need knowledge of how to kill people, not law, right? Yes, you need knowledge of IPC, CRPC, Indian Evidence Act, Civil Procedure Code. Indian Railway Service. You need technical knowledge of railways. Is UPSC testing any of these things in your recruitment process? You are going to become an income tax officer. In what way your knowledge of coinage during Gupta period will help you to become a good income tax officer while evaluating the accounts of Mukesh Ambani? Do you require? You are going to be appointed as Indian Foreign Service Officer. In what way your knowledge of sedimentary rocks will help you to become a good Foreign Service Officer? Right? You are going to be an Indian Administrative Service Officer. What is it? Huh? Okay, I don't understand. Okay. Huh? Cricket World Cup. Okay, very good. Say, don't worry, Pakistan will be out. Today, Pakistan will be out. So don't worry about ICC World Cup. I cannot say that you should not watch, because I have a very proud history. I have skipped my university examinations and college examinations also to watch cricket matches. Final examinations also. Yes. It was, it was in graduation, final year. In my graduation I had these papers, 3 papers. One is mathematics, second one is economics, and third one is statistics. I took, those are the subjects in my graduation. That was mathematics paper. Examination starts at 8 o'clock, match starts at 9 o'clock. Right? By 8:45 I completed the paper. And I wanted to give the paper to the invigilator. He said that no, you cannot leave the examination hall before 2 hours. I said fine, no problem. Then I started disturbing others and showing my answer sheet and everything. Then he said that get lost and thank you very much. Came out and went home. And my father unfortunately was there in the house only. He was a professor of public administration only. So on that day he did not go to college, and he was there. And he scolded me like anything. How can you leave examination to watch cricket match? So that is the reason why I will not say that you should not watch, because that is what Mahatma Gandhi would say all the time. Before preaching something, practice it. So I cannot tell you to stop watching the cricket. Right? So, of course, I have to tell you the final result also. I got 95 marks. No, that's the thing. Because mathematics is one subject where you can score very easily without hard work. If you understand the simple formulas, you can write very well. I took mathematics because you don't have to work hard. Because I am that kind of person who hated hard work all the time. There are 2 ways of getting marks. Either you are working hard or preventing others from working hard. And that is what I practiced in my university. You will go to library and sit with other hard-working students in your class. And you will make sure that you are disturbing them. Then you will have equality before law. You have not studied, they also have not studied. And then automatically with whatever little knowledge you have, you can always write better answers than them. You will always get good marks also. Right? These are different ways. And of course, my handwriting is so bad that nobody can read except myself. In fact, most of the time I cannot also. And that is one of the secrets of success. I was writing UPSC mains examination, and one of the invigilators was my senior from university only. And she suffered in my hands. She got into depression also, because in universities, what the professors will do, they will give the answer sheets of the students to these research scholars to evaluate. And she had become one of my victims. There are so many of them in my entire illustrious journey. Right? And looking at me, she had tears in her eyes, remembering all the past. She said that please, at least write in UPSC examination with a legible handwriting. I said that I will not. Why? Because that is the secret of my success. Secret of my success. Why? Because from first standard to post graduation, I got marks only because nobody could understand. If they can understand, they know that there is nothing as content. I said that I will not. Right? And of course, UPSC also thought that they should get rid of me, people like me, so they gave me marks also. But I cannot say that the same thing to you people. Nowadays, UPSC has changed its standards. Handwriting is important. But again, handwriting, please remember, is not that much important. Some time back, I had a student who used to write much worse than my own handwriting. I felt like I'm writing with golden letters. And he got into the kind of service only, foreign service. In foreign service, you have to learn so many languages. It does not really matter. Why? Because whatever may be the language, you are writing with the same handwriting. Whether you are writing English or Japanese, He got into Japan, this foreign service, and he got initially Japan. And he learned Japanese, and he had shown me. I said that what is the difference between your English and Japanese? Right? So anyway, let us come back and look at what we are discussing. So I will not say anything against you if you watch cricket matches. Continue. Right? Right. And please remember that you are also preparing for UPSC. Sometimes. Right? So coming back here, sir, you please better be a stand-up comedian. My God. This is I don't know. You are criticizing me or scolding me or making fun of me or anything. And when I was in UK, London, I got different strange job offers. And I don't know why people say there is so much of unemployment. First job offer was cooking. I can cook these South Indian dishes, vegetarian. My aunt was so impressed that she said that let me close down her hospital and let us start a restaurant. Because, 2 idlis, 500 rupees. You can earn millions of rupees. Right? This is one job offer. Second job offer, once I went to some of these, in Europe, in Western countries, there is so much of fascination with our epics, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Bhagavad Gita. I went there, one of the meetings there, along with my aunt, and there they were murdering, as usual, those Westerners. For Ram, they will say Ram, and for Sita, they will say Shita. Right, that is how they pronounce. And as usual, they were murdering Bhagavad Gita by interpreting the way they like. So I had said that this is not what it is, and this is what real. And after 1 hour, they said that to take these 5,000 pounds. 5,000 pounds is such a huge amount. Right? I said that, I am not here to get money by selling Bhagavad Gita. I just wanted to make sure that what you are teaching is this wrong. So they said that then why don't you become a priest in our temple? Right? So I got these kind of strange job offers. And of course, in European countries, best job is become a domestic servant. Not Baba, domestic servant. If you go and wash utensils in the house of other person, you will become a millionaire. Because in those countries, this human workforce is limited in supply. So you also get a lot of, that is what happens in America at this point of time. Indians, when they go to those places, they will become domestic servants and they will earn, hundreds and thousands of dollars also. When they do those things, they don't do those things in India, dignity of labor. When they go to America and Europe, they will work as bartenders or in these gas stations, petrol stations, because they earn a lot of money. So anyway, those are all the job offers that I got. And finally, my ultimate dream, as you know, is a religious Baba. Because in our country, as you know, there is Babas and Bhabis. Right? They are the most profitable profession. It is recession proof, depression proof. Right? Recession proof and depression proof. And the entry fee is also very high. And if you have to become a devotee, you need to donate at least 10 crores, 100 crores. Not like UPSC 1 lakh rupees fee. That is for BPL population. Right? Right? So that is the thing. MLA cancel. Yes, MLA cancelled. First let me earn a good amount of money by becoming Baba, and then I will contest as MLA. Right? So These are all dreams. And then let us come to reality. Right. So, your dream of 1,000 crores after becoming MLA, it is there, don't worry, it is there. So, but why only 1,000 crores? Why 1,000 crores? After 10 years, Hindu newspaper should come out with a front page article. Who is this person who had become richest person in the world in a very short period of time? What has he done? Yes, exactly. Right? So anyway, let us come back to our, civil services reforms. So first and foremost, what we are discussing here is that, see, that is what we say, ultimately the essence of human life is to remain happy. And you cannot get this happiness either in money or in power or in status. Why? Because any kind of happiness which is external can never be permanent. Because money, it can be taken away from you. So what you have to do? Earn money, transfer it to my account. And you remain happy. As your teacher, it is my moral responsibility to take away all your burdens so that you can have peace of mind. Pardon? QR code. Don't worry. I will give you my Swiss bank account also. Right now, if I give you QR code, you will transfer 5 rupees. Looking at your financial status, right? So first get into services, we can see. Only few days back, 3-4 days back, some of our students who got into IAS this year, they were undergoing training in Labasna. They came to Delhi as transit. They were going to Gujarat for this Ekta Divas is there, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, birth anniversary, or so they will go to Gujarat and they will take a pledge that they will be working for the country. They came and they said that, sir, we thought that we will meet you. I said that, what is the point of meeting me when you are coming empty-handed? Right? Right? No, they said that, sir, we want to show our gratitude because, they are under the misconception that they got into IAS because of me. These kind of misconceptions are always good also. I said that, but that is not. Show your gratitude not in words, but in actions. And, most of them have got only Bihar cadre. Cadre is also fixed. I said that become efficient. Bihar is a place where you can show a lot of your efficiency. And then, as usual, transfer money. That is what, as this year also ethics paper, the same question was asked. A single action is more powerful than 1,000 words. Right? Do. I said that I will give my Swiss bank accounts to them, not you people. Right? So, anyway, let us come back and look at civil services reforms. So, first and foremost, what we say is that recruitment. The basic problem with recruitment is that we are recruiting civil servants for generalist civil services, IAS. And we are living in this age of globalization. For example, you are an agriculture secretary. You got into services 35 years back. You have become agriculture secretary. And you don't have any experience of agriculture. And you are dealing with American agricultural secretary who is an expert, who is a specialist, who had spent around 30 years in only doing agricultural research. Right? And can you negotiate on a level playing field with that person? Obviously not. Why? Because that person had spent 25 years in doing agricultural research. He knew the ins and outs. That one of the most important reasons why India has not been able to benefit out of these multilateral agreements the way it should have been, because of our generalist bureaucracy. They don't have any specialized skills. And we need a specialist to hold those positions. And the recruitment done by UPSC is for what is called a generalist civil servant. That is where the problem is. That is the reason why in 2017, Baswan committee had recommended so many changes to recruitment process. what are the changes that they have recommended to civil services? First thing, they have said that we must end this single examination for all services, single examination. Until Kothari committee had given its recommendations in 1970s, UPSC used to conduct different examination for different services. For IAS, there was to be a different examination. For IPS, another examination. For rest of the services, depending on the service, all other different examinations are conducted. After 1970s, UPSC started conducting a single examination for all these services. So this Baswan committee in 2017 has suggested that let us divide all these things, because the skills that are needed for IAS are different from the skills that are demanded by IPS. Right now what is happening? People are not getting into IPS. They are being rejected in IAS. They are being rejected in IAS. This Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy is there in Hyderabad. Since I hail from Hyderabad only, normally I always go there because our students will be there. And you can see that all of them will be taking the examination again next year. Every year, UPSC recruits around 180 IAS officers and 180 IPS officers. Out of these 180 IPS officers, they will be taking the examination, at least 150 of them again. That means they are not getting selected into IPS. They are being rejected in IAS. That is the reason why they are not efficient. We must change this kind of recruitment process, because IAS require a completely different set of skills compared to IPS. Similarly, we are living in this age of globalization and market-based economies. We need a very efficient income tax. One of our students is from IT background. He got into IRS IT income tax, and he was posted in Bhopal, and he was looking into the accounts of this Reliance Industries Limited, and he said that he could not understand anything, because the accounts are prepared by the auditors who have more than 30 years of experience in auditing, and he had learnt about this income tax law as part of his training only for 1 year. Can he compete with them? He knew that something is wrong there, but he could not find out. Why? Because he is not a specialist. On the other hand, what ideally should have been done? If you are recruiting a person to IRS IT, what is required is knowledge of income tax. Does this person has knowledge of income tax? He also belongs to IT, information technology. That is where the problem is. And that is why we need a specialist. Police services, you require completely different set of skills. Physical strength is necessary. Average age of people getting into IAS is around, the civil service is around 28 years. At the age of 28, is it possible for you to become physically fit? If you go to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy, there are 2 gates, main gate and the other gate. Always go through the second gate. Why? Because this second gate is close to hospital. Because most of our students will be there in the hospital. At the age of 28 years, suddenly every day you are asked to run for 20 kilometers a day with a big rifle in your hand. Can you? Long time back, one of our students, he got into IPS. When he went to this academy, his weight was around 120 kilos. Heavyweight personality, right? And after training is over, because of extremely physically demanding training process, he came down to 80. He lost 40 kilos, and got the posting, DSP, Patna district, rural. In rural areas, your first posting will be DSP. In urban areas, it is called ACP. And after that, within 6 months, he came to Old Rayanagar. He was weighing 140 kilos. He would say that, being a Jain, he said that, sir, I'm very fond of sweets. Wherever I go in this rural areas, people offer me sweets. I cannot say no. And then he had become 140 kilos again. That is where the problem is. And most of the time, what happens here is you need horse riding. And most of the officers, they fall down from horses, break at least half their bones. Remaining bones they cannot break because they are already broken. Right? And that is what happens. That's what I said. I will always go to first the hospital. There all these victims will be there. This year also, our students, as I said, the training started in last week of August in Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. One of our students who got into IAS, they went for a trekking in Himalayas, Nanda Devi range in Uttarakhand. And he went and, you have to trekking, you have to climb. And he fell down. And then he had a very serious injury on his right hand. It was bleeding like anything. And there was no phone connection or anything. Somehow they could contact the collector there. Collector had to send immediately air ambulance. The situation had become severe. Why? Because, at the age of around 28 to 29 years, can you do all those things? And similarly, this year, 4th ranker, I think, there is a girl, and for IAS officers, horse riding is also there, which is not necessary. Horse riding was needed when Britishers were there in India, because there were no other transportation facilities. People had to only, these collectors, ICS officers had to move from one place to other place only on horseback. That is the reason why horse riding was compulsory. Even now also this horse riding is there. And for how long horses tolerate this nonsense of donkeys riding on them? And that is the reason why, you know what happened. Most of them broke their bones and everything. This is where the problem is. That is why Baswan committee has said that have separate examinations for different services. Because IPS require physical strength and stamina. IRS IT requires complete knowledge of income tax. And customs require knowledge of GST. Foreign service require in-depth knowledge of external relations, especially in this age. You must have seen in newspapers also, the government is planning to recruit more people to foreign service. Why? Because what is the every year recruitment? Around 25 to 30. Maximum, 20, 25, not more than that. When we talk about India becoming a global, superpower, you need more people in the foreign service, and that too specialists. Do they require a knowledge of what Ashoka has done as part of his global empire? No. What is required is knowledge of foreign service. That is what Baswan committee has suggested. Let us end this, a single examination for all services, because different services require different skills, knowledge, aptitude, and attitude. The next thing it has said is that Baswan committee reduce the age limit. At present, the age limit is 32 years. And with relaxation for OBCs, SCs, and STs. Now, what is happening is that by the time you get into services at the age of 29, 30 years, your personality is fully developed. Can the training institutes give you any kind of training so that I can change your attitudes and values? Obviously not. That is what the most important principle of this recruitment is, that you should always catch them young. If you can catch them young, you can mold their attitudes and values and behavior according to the needs of the organization. On the other hand, when people are getting into service at the age of 28, 29 years, obviously their personality is fully developed. It cannot be changed to the needs of the organization. So that is the reason why Baswan committee has suggested that reduce the age limit. It has said that age limit has to be between 21 to 26 years. It has to be only 21 to 26 years or 25 years, with the number of attempts being reduced to only 3. Why? Why? Because the committee has observed that in India, young people in our country spending their productive years only in preparing for this competitive examination. Not only civil services, at the state level, state PCS also. In some of the states, the recruitment age is 80 years. retirement age is 60 years in some of the states. In Telangana, it is 48 years. And that means you can take the examination till 48 years. On the day you get into services, you will also retire. So what is happening here? People are spending their most productive years in UPSC preparation. Let us assume that after 6 attempts, you have not got into services. You have taken your last attempt at the age of 32. That means by the time results come, 33 years. Will you get any kind of job when you go out? That is what Baswan committee has said. Let the people get out of the system, when they are still very young, so that they can have a better other career opportunities also. Because this UPSC examination, or for that matter state services, it is highly uncertain. Highly uncertain. Yesterday one of my students had come, he had taken all the 6 attempts, attended 4 interviews, and missed out on service only by 2-3 marks. And then at the end of the day, 0 only. In this UPSC examination, either it is 0 or 100. Either anything consolation marks or anything, nothing. Either you get into services or you don't. Fortunately, he is a software engineer and he was working when he was preparing. So he could continue with his career. But what about others who are into full-time preparation? That is why Baswan committee has said that reduce the age limit so that we can save productive resources of our country from wasting their precious time. Next, it has suggested that what is the use of all these optionals? There is no level playing field when it comes to optional. You are taking Sanskrit literature. You are getting 360 marks. You are posted in Manipur. Will you teach those Kuki and Mighty tribals the significance of ancient language called Sanskrit? What is the use? You have taken Tamil literature. You have written the entire examination in Tamil only, GS also. You are posted in Uttar Pradesh. In what way your knowledge of Tamil can help you to become a better civil servant? You have taken philosophy optional. Tomorrow you are kidnapped by Naxalites in Chhattisgarh. Will you tell the Naxalites that you have only kidnapped the body but not the soul? The soul is free, independent. It can never be imprisoned. They say that, yes, we also agree. Let us separate your soul from body. And you have taken physics optional. You will go and tell the Naxalites that every action will have equal and opposite reaction. That is what the Baswan committee has said. It has said that remove all these optionals, especially literature optionals and all these optionals, because they are not necessary. And it has said that replace those optional 2 papers with 2 other compulsory papers. We need knowledge of law. You need knowledge of. Right now in Labasna, as part of foundation course training, they are teaching only law, and second one is public administration, because all of you are going to be administrators. That is what the committee has suggested. So these are all the recommendations of Baswan committee with regard to recruitment. They said that stop conducting a single examination for all services, because that is not what is necessary in the present age of globalization and specialization. We need specialists. For income tax service, let them be tested in their knowledge of accounts and audit and income tax laws. You might be highly efficient and committed, intelligent person, but can you be efficient? I said the auditor of Reliance, he has 30 years of experience, and you are getting into services and you had only 1 year of training in Nagpur. Can you compete with them? That is the reason why our administration is inefficient, because they don't have the necessary skills. That is the reason why it has said that implement all these recommendations. 2017, the committee has submitted its recommendations. 2018, the UPSC also has accepted them, and they were forwarded to the Government of India, the Ministry of Personnel. And 2019 elections were there, so obviously the government could not take any decisions. In an election year, nobody takes. After that, this corona had started, and the government's priorities have changed. And next year, if BJP comes back to power, you can expect changes. The changes. Of course, reducing the age limit will be highly sensitive one. They will not implement those things. Maybe other changes can be expected. So this is regarding recruitment. Then, what are the other problems? As I said, training. So, what is happening there in Labasna? They will conduct the examinations. The examinations will be conducted in, there's 5 subjects that are being taught: polity, economy, administration, law, and one more paper. So what these officers, we call them as OTs, officer trainees. What they do when the examination is conducted for polity, they will get DD bus and write answers. One day, the director of the academy, he said that I will cancel this examination since you are copying. And what did these officers say? They said that no problem, conduct the examination again. Next time we will come out with Lakshmikant also. That is what. Even now also, as I said, all of them were only copying. Nobody takes this training seriously. Why? Why? Because before you go to training, your service, your cadre, everything is decided. That means you are getting into IAS, you are getting this state cadre. Then why should they give any kind of importance to training? Training is considered as what we call paid holiday for these officers, because their career advancement, their cadre allotment, their service allotment does not depend on training. That is the reason why our Prime Minister some time back wanted to introduce some reforms. He said that let UPSC come out with the ranks, but not the services and cadres. It is said that after doing this foundation course training, let their services and cadres be decided so that people will take this foundation course training seriously. But again, these things were not implemented because of the powerful IAS lobby. Similarly, in service training, this training is not compulsory in service training also, because their promotions, their transfers do not depend on training. Nobody takes it seriously. And that is the reason why our civil servants have failed to cope up with the changes that are taking place. Look at in the last 30 years, so many changes have taken place in India. We have adopted this liberalization, privatization and globalization. We have also adopted this rights-based approach to development. We also have opted for e-governance, IT governance. We also have implemented 73rd, 74th amendments. So many radical reforms have been implemented. We also have made this third sector, voluntary sector, a significant partner in the development process. In spite of all these radical reforms, why they are not successful at the ground level? Because of the attitudes of our bureaucracy. They still have colonial attitudes. And that is the reason why our Prime Minister has said that let us change the training modules and everything. That is when he had come out with this scheme called Mission Karma Yogi. This was announced during this Corona time, 2021. At that point of time, the government had come out with what is called Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. As part of this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, our Prime Minister had come out with Mission Karma Yogi, wherein he said that the civil servant should be Karma Yogis. Who is a Karma Yogi? Who is a Karma Yogi? Have you heard about the word Karma Yogi? Yes or no? Yes, what is it? Who is a Karma Yogi? According to Bhagavad Gita, we can attain salvation by following 4 different paths. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raj Yoga and Karma Yoga. And Lord Krishna says that you can attain salvation easily through Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? It says that you must perform your actions, duties, without any expectations regarding the outcomes. That is what is called nishkam karma. Kam means desire. Nishkam means desireless work. You should be attaching yourself to the work that you are performing, not to the outcome. And what is the problem with civil servants in India? They are mostly looking at the outcomes. That is, they are looking at their promotions, transfers, postings, and post-retirement benefits. And that is the reason why our Prime Minister has said that let us launch this mission Karma Yogi. Let the bureaucrats get satisfaction out of the work they are performing. Let the bureaucracy be completely transformed, 360-degree transformation through this mission Karma Yogi, wherein the focus is on outcomes, wherein the focus is on improving the efficiency, wherein the focus is on changing their attitudes and values, wherein the focus is on accountability mechanisms, wherein the focus will be on evaluating efficiency of bureaucracy in terms of realizing outcomes. As part of mission Karma Yogi, the objective is to make sure that bureaucrats would become proactive, dynamic, creative, innovative, risk-taking, honest, selfless, empathetic, and transparent, accountable. This is what the objective of mission Karma Yogi. So that there will be complete transformation in terms of their personalities. This is regarding the training. The most important issue here is the politician-civil servant relationship. As we keep on saying, politicization of civil services. So many ethics case studies have been asked. What is the solution? What is the solution for politicization of civil services? The second ERC has provided the solution. They said that the problem is because these promotions, transfers, postings and everything else is in the hands of political executive. They are using these instruments to politicize the functioning of civil services. How to depoliticize? Very simple. Take away all these powers from the political executive, give it to a central civil services board consisting of senior most civil servants. Let them decide the transfers, postings, suspensions, removals, and everything else. Let them decide these things on the basis of objective performance evaluation of civil servants. Of course, these kind of recommendations will never be implemented. The government has implemented the recommendations. Right now we have Central Civil Services Board. And how these recommendations are diluted. For example, in police services, we have this police establishment board, which recommends to the government regarding the transfers and postings and promotions. In Maharashtra, what happened? Normally, the Home Minister will prepare the list of police officers who should be given promotions and transfers and everything. He will send this list to the police establishment board. Police establishment board would in turn recommend the same to the government. And the government says that as per the recommendations of police establishment board, we have done all these things. That is how these are all diluted. And of course, recently, previously there was this one of the home ministers of Maharashtra who was arrested also, who took a lot of money for these postings and transfers. One of our, a long time back, in Noida is a very popular, place for IPS officers. And once there was a chief minister in UP, and that chief minister auctioned all these positions. That means if you want to be a superintendent of police of Noida or a police commissioner there, minimum price is 5 crores. IPS officers are more than happy. The auctioning started with 5 crores, it ended up at 25 crores. That is what we call systematic corruption. Why they are willing to give those 25 crores to the politicians? Because they know if they stay there as a, this superintendent of police there, in 2 years they can earn at least 10 times. Systematic corruption. Why? Because all these things are there in the hands of political executive. That is why we need depoliticization. How? Through Central Civil Services Board. That is what we say. And then next thing is that why our civil servants are inefficient? Because they don't have to be efficient. They have security of tenure. Once you are there in services, nobody can remove you till your retirement. Because we have these articles 309, 310 and 311 of our constitution. Articles 308 to 320 talk about these civil services, including UPSC and everything. What is the essence of articles 309 and 310 and 311? They say that an officer cannot be removed by any authority which is lower in hierarchy than the authority that has appointed them. So tomorrow when you get into services, you will be getting your appointment letters from the president. Can you be removed by anyone below president? Is there anyone above president? That is what they have security of tenure. He cannot be removed, and there is no evaluation of efficiency here. There is no evaluation of efficiency here. So they don't have to be efficient because their transfers, their promotion, their postings and their suspensions and their removals do not depend on their efficiency. And they have the security of tenure. That is the reason why second ERC has recommended that articles 309 and 310 from the constitution should be repealed, which provides security of tenure. If any IAS officer proved to be inefficient, he must be removed. That is what they have said. I think we can stop it here for today. Tomorrow I will dictate these reforms, and tomorrow I will also look at the questions also of previous years.